In the Saturday Night Truck Series, the regular season is over. And as we did last season, it's time to bring back the throwback paint schemes and send us into overtime. This will be the playoffs for Season 5, and the Throwback 150 instead of Darlington takes us to the Atlanta Motor Speedway for round 8 of the 5th season. Great to have all the drivers coming back to finish off the tour strong. As it stands, 11 drivers have registered, 5 have taken the time. Going back right now to Vinny Tigner's number 12 and Scott Erickson's number 50 now hits the track. A mix of veterans and rookie drivers taking on the track once again here in Atlanta, and it's been a great regular season leading up to this point. Now, time to chase a championship. 2 minutes and 3 seconds left on the timing chart here in qualifying, and the Throwback 150 begins our playoff hunt. 100 laps, 150 miles from the original Atlanta Motor Speedway configuration here on iRacing. It will not be a super speedway race, instead going to be traditional mile-and-a-half action, and it's sure to be as exciting, if not even more so. Strategic action, going to be some long green flag runs we surely will expect, and there is a fuel limit as well, so we expect at least 2 pit stops throughout the day. Great to have you all on FTN to conclude our doubleheader tonight on the channel. The Full Send Super Speedway Series went to Daytona for the first race of Season 2. Jacob Wilkerson was able to get it done at Daytona in the Beckman 188, and only one driver is doing the double today, Henry Kaloff. He looks like he's starting second by 22 1/1000ths in his number 35. So one driver doing the double here in FTN. Unfortunately, I was not alongside the broadcasting crew earlier in the day, but great to be here to finish off the night. David Kreutz commentating and producing all of tonight's action. As you see now, Alec Daffin is going to be on the track. Winners, drivers who have been competitive with podiums and top 5s alike, and some drivers we haven't seen all too much of this season, all coming together to put on a great show to finish off this season. 8 races in out of 12. We've gotten through more than half the campaign, and we still have a champion to crown, so you gotta find out what it takes to win night after night. Punching your ticket to the next round here would be fantastic, but only one driver gets a chance to win, and it could be a playoff spoiler if push comes to shove. Qualifying looks to be already concluded. Alec Daffin gonna send himself back down to pit road, and 7 drivers have opted to take a time so far, and it looks like nobody else is going to choose to do so. 150 miles of racing, but it is only 3 miles to determine where a driver will start in this race. With all said and done, it looks like Daffin will be starting third, but his teammate for Shaw Racing in Jordan Kuntz will start on the pole position. Once again, dominant from Shaw Racing this season, and they bring themselves to the front of the field, only split up by one driver in Henry Kaloff as qualifying's over from Hampton. And with qualifying concluded, now to get on to our 5-minute second practice session where drivers get a chance to make some final adjustments before the day of racing begins. Vinny Tigner getting on the track right now, and so is Henry Kaloff in the number 35. Both drivers making their way with throwback paint schemes on this one, and you can see right now the green and white number 35 going to be starting in second today. Only one driver beating him in our qualifying session. So without further ado, let's find out who's starting where in the 8th race of Season 5. This is the Throwback 150, and this is Atlanta Motor Speedway to kick off our playoff run. Jordan Kuntz getting the man starting in the pole position once again. The most dominant man this season, your defending champion, is going to be starting pole position with a 31.596. Then from there, we're going to be Henry Kaloff in second with a 35. Machine being put up there in the second with a 31.618. Third in the order is going to be the man who rounds out your podium here in qualifying, and for Shaw Racing, they'll be qualifying first and third. Alec Daffin's going to round out your top 3 inside of row number 2 with a 31.769 beside league owner Vinny Tigner and his number 12. Vinny's going to be starting on the outside of row number 2 in the 4th position with a 31.784, and Jackson Van Pelt in the number 78 will round out the top 5 with a 31.793 in his number 78 machine. Scott Erickson's going to be the number 59, and it looks like he'll be just outside the top 5 by only 0.2 of a second. Scott's going to be starting inside of the top 10, 6th place outside of row 3 with a 31.924. Only one more driver taking a time lap before the racing gets on its way. That's going to be Dylan Poss in number 41 machine. Dylan going to be inside of row number 4, 7th place with a 31.994. 54, the final driver to take a time of the 7 who chose to do so. Then from there, you're going to see Carter Casey, your race control for this event. He's going to be effectively position number 8, but that will no longer be the case as he will not be racing in tonight's event. Carter Casey, race control in that number 1. Then from there, James Nelson, number 77, will be in the 9th position tonight. Nelson going to be just inside the top 10, single digits, without taking a time lap. Final man inside the top 10 will be Curtis Sabarin in the number 54, and Curtis not going to take a time as well, but still find himself outside of row number 5. Then to round out your field, only one more driver. Another driver chose to register and then withdraw, so while Joel Brooks is effectively in the 11th, he's the 12th man to register for this race and will be the final man to round out the starting grid without taking a timed lap. 12 drivers, 8 races in, and this is the Throwback 150 starting grid to kick off your playoffs. And just like that, with the qualifying out the way, 2 minutes are still on for this second practice session. Only one driver has taken the time to this point. That is Henry Kaloff in number 35 machine, and Henry right now going to get some extra practice laps to try to make it through for a race victory. He's going to back it down, jam the brakes. He won at Talladega. Oh, so close finish between him and Vinny Tigner, and Kaloff's the man who came through advantageous, so he's got a head full of steam when it comes to that machine. Number 35 on a roll as of recent, and he's hoping to keep it that way. Now Carter Casey gets back on the track, and Carter's going to find himself the fastest man on the timing charts. Now, while he is the number 1 machine in the league, you'll see he's running a different paint scheme today, so I don't believe he'll be racing with us. Either way, it's going to be Carter Casey setting down a fast lap and bringing it down to the apron of the back straightaway to put himself back down on pit road. Jackson Van Pelt is also going to have a time lap. The number 78 machine is now 3rd on the order with 1 minute remaining. Scott Erickson, James Nelson, and Curtis Sabarin also going to be on the circuit right now. Sabarin's number 54 machine wiggles just a bit, and the Monster Energy machine, brand new look, is going to find himself on the track with James Nelson for their first laps as a collective group. Scott Erickson's also going to be alone on the circuit right now. 3 drivers have taken the time, looking to make it more than 5 when they come across the stripe this time by. Now Sabarin, Nelson both go through. Scott Erickson is still going to be on his way on pit road, and with 34 seconds left, Carter Casey is still the fastest man on the timing charts. Side by side, we might see some movement from James Nelson here as these 2 drivers are up to run the high side, and we saw at Old Atlanta last season, a fantastic race. However, a lot of things have changed in iRacing since that point. The new damage model and the new physics system for these NASCAR truck machines, they've been implemented since that time, and they're going to drive a bit different, but overall, expecting the same great racing. Second practice is over, and Carter Casey will be the fastest man in the session here to warm up the Throwback 150. Now time to put it into gear. Checkered flag will fall on our second practice, and Carter Casey is the quickest man around. And now, as qualifying is over and as warm-up has concluded, we've only got one more part of the night. That is our main event, 100 laps. It's going to come down to 150 miles to kick off our playoffs here. And now time for drivers to head to the starting grid and get things going. Jordan Coots already going to be there. Henry Kaloff is as well. Alec Daffin soon to join up. And now the drivers are heading into their starting grid positions. It's time to get rolling with the iRacing official pace car leading them around for one more time. Joel Brooks is going to be back in the field starting just beyond the top 10. You'll see Curtis Sabarin's going to be there with James Nelson. Carter Casey's no longer going to be with this field, but you'll see it's going to be Dylan Poss, Scott Erickson, Jackson Van Pelt, and all these drivers have gotten set up to go. Almost everyone on the starting grid already on the track. When they're all set to go at it, we will have ourselves a racing, and it's going to be a strategy race, that's for certain. What the thing is to keep most in mind is that we will have modifications in our fuel limit, and it's going to be 85% for these machines. You do not have your full tank. You're going to have to work with a bit less, and as a result, we'll see at least 2 stop strategies, if not 3, to keep this race rolling. Now, Jordan Coots is going to roll off with Henry Kaloff in time to get back on the way. The green flag set to fly him just a lap's time, and drivers move off on your starting grid. And for Jordan Cooch, this is a key race in his championship hunt. That number 5 machine has been the best man not only this season, but last season as well. So looking to keep that hot streak going of seasons and go for his second championship in a row. Jordan Cooch has been the man so far in this tour. Multiple race victories already, but ever since, of course, Talladega was a wild card race, you don't really know who's going to come out of Talladega the winner, but now we're back at a more predictable circuit. And Jordan Cooch at these intermediates has been fantastic. Won multiple races last season at this style of track, and he's set to be one of the favorites as we go on tonight for another race victory. Alec Daffin able to break his winless streak so far on Saturday night. He finally got one done this season, and he is one of the other major threats, winning at Pocono and getting it done in one of the biggest tracks on the schedule. Another driver taking it big time as of recent is Henry Kaloff, winning at Talladega, and he looks to have the pace to compete for the race win tonight if his qualifying speed is not a fluke. Dropping down to the inside line, the iRacing official pace car will let them go at it, and the green flag will fly in Season 5 of the playoffs. Green flag is out, led by Jordan Cooch, and we're underway here from Atlanta. The line, Henry Kaloff takes the race lead, finds himself at the head of the field. Now for this number 35 machine, he was not able to get any practice before the race got going, and still, he looks to be the quickest man to this point. Jackson Van Pelt jumps up to the top of the board with some trouble in the back of the field. Curtis LeBaron and Dylan Poss are racing each other hard. Back on the field, we still stay green. No major troubles to this point. Scott Erickson up high, he'll keep it there, and already two of your big throwbacks tonight have made it up to the front of this field. Jackson Van Pelt running the Quaker State number 78, a throwback to Jack Sprague, one of the pioneers of the NASCAR Truck Series in its infancy, and that number 78 running in the second position. First season for Jackson in this league, and he's looking to have that standout run that you'd love to have as a driver coming through for the very first time. This is his first time visiting old Atlanta in this league, and he gets to find out what it's like to be up in front at a track with character. You'll see the drivers bumping up and down the circuit using multiple lanes, but right now the bottom side seems to be preferred for most of those up at the head of the field. And for Henry Kaloff, he also leads the way for the first time at Atlanta. He was not in last season's event at this track, but he still looks to be driving very well up in front with his Delma Colored number 35 throwback as well. Throwback's going to be featured all throughout the field. Alec Daffin's number 48 machine has been held. Now, I'm not quite sure whether or not this is a real-world throwback to drivers such as Ross Chastain or if it's a Shaw Racing throwback. You might remember we saw this paint scheme last year driven by the Shaw Racing drivers in a very successful campaign for them, and it looks like Alec Daffin brings that paint scheme back not only as a real throwback, but as a virtual throwback. And the number 12 machine of Vinny Tigner throws it back to Brad Keselowski Racing in the Cooper Standard number 12. Further on back, you're also going to see Curtis LeBaron. He's in a brand new look, the Monster Energy number 54, as it's going to be Dylan Poss wiggling once again up and down the field. So far, very calm racing, and Henry Kaloff leads him through 5 laps in out of 100. No major movement up at the front of the field. Drivers getting settled in for the long run. Joel Brooks finds himself now 10th and last of those on the track. You'll see Dylan Poss right now finding himself in the 9th position in number 41. And for Dylan Poss, this is his first race this season, coming back after weeks of absence, and now putting himself into position to right up in the front of the field. Top 10 finish on debut is effectively guaranteed, but he's still got a ways to go to make it a truly successful run, as many of the top competitors are right ahead of him. You'll see right now Scott Erickson going there, Curtis LeBaron, James Nelson, Vinny Tigner, all going to be right alongside each other. Daffin now battling to keep afloat with Vinny Tigner going down low. Vinny down to the bottom side, has himself there, will take the pass at least for the time being, but Alec Daffin beginning to work that high side, and Daffin's expertise in this track is coming through, not only here in the Saturday Night Truck Series, but in addition, one driver spins. That's going to be Dylan Poss down to the bottom side of the track. The Andy's frozen custard machine goes around, and it looks like no caution will be called, but he's got a load of trouble to deal with now. The wheel well is gone, and no caution will fly for Dylan Poss, the first incident of the day for this number 41 machine. Yellow flag, not going to be out, but I don't think there's anything more that Dylan can do on the night. Taking a look back with an instant replay on the matter, this 41 finds trouble early on. And it just overcorrects. It goes up to the track. That's almost inexplicable. Might have hit a bump, but it doesn't look to be a natural wreck there. So we'll take it one more time a bit further back to try to understand it a bit more. But Dylan Poss having some trouble and overshooting the corner and rocketing up to the top of the track. Here's an instant replay to show you a bit more. And it looks like overcorrection rockets up the track indeed. That's going to send him back down, eventually disconnecting from the race session. It looks like Dylan Poss, the first retiree of the day. Henry Kaloff is still your race leader, going back-to-back as his goal, and 9 laps into 100. That's exactly what he's able to do. Jackson Van Pelt not too far behind. 2 of your rookies this season running very well, and iRacing is not dictating their success. Henry Kaloff currently finds himself with a 2,051 I rating, and Jackson Van Pelt has a 2,200 I rating. Your third place driver, Jordan Kuntz, has a 6,600 I rating. Right now, the skill is not being determined by the numbers, it's being determined by the facts. Who's out in front right now? It's that number 35 that keeps it down the back straightaway as your race leader. It's Henry Kaloff up in front in first, Jackson Van Pelt in second, and Jordan Kuntz third. 1, 2, 3, the rookies dominating, and Alec Daffin keeping himself in fourth here with James Nelson then in fifth. And for James Nelson, this number 77 campaign beginning at Charlotte, he's been a bit of a flash in the pan, shall we say. Not necessarily in the terrible sense, but he has not shown all his potential all throughout the season. I think that the James Nelson crew, the 77, the driver himself and everyone else, they know there's a lot more untapped potential in this team than what we've seen so far. Nelson was having a very solid top 10 run at Charlotte. He's seen a few more unpredictable races such as Pocono and Talladega since then, but I feel that James Nelson has the potential to break out into a top 5 driver if he can keep it up here for the long haul. He'll go up high to keep Vinny Tigner just on his side, trying to run that momentum into the front straightaway. But so far, Nelson running in 6th right now, and he's behind not only 2 of the winningest drivers in this league, but the current league owners. So some very solid company to be around 12 laps in. Not a bad spot to be in at all. Henry Kaloff remains your leader. Jackson Van Pelt's going to be second, and Jordan Kuntz will be in third, with Alec Daffin then fourth, Vinny Tigner fifth, and Curtis Sabarin now fighting side by side for that 6th spot, as it looks like now Nelson having some trouble holding on. Defense on the high side going to keep that spot for him. It might not be forever. Looking at the deck lid now, this number 77 team, and they've got Sabarin and Scott Erickson all over him. So now not 1 but 2 drivers trying to take that spot away, and Nelson's going to have to keep on fighting if he wants to hold on to what he's got, at least for the time being. Now you'll see now rushing down the back straightaway, momentum coming into the hands of Curtis Sabarin. Curtis drops down low, but not enough of a lunge in, so it looks like he won't be able to make anything of it there. 13 laps in, out of 100. Henry Kaloff has led every lap so far, and takes him down to the stripe again to begin lap number 14, with Jackson Van Pelt now facing some trouble. Jordan Kuntz is now right there. Whenever there's a leader, Jordan Kuntz is sure to try to track him down. All of a sudden, that number 5 machine coming alive as of late, and now finds himself on the hunt for the 2nd position, and the reason is he saved up his tires and is now the fastest man on the track. Down to the bottom side, he's going to find himself down low on Jackson Van Pelt. That time by, it was about a 2/10 of a second gap between Van Pelt and Jordan Kuntz's lap. This time around, the difference is still that clear. 10th of a second after 10th of a second. It looks like Jordan Kuntz has been saving it up for the long run indeed, and now finds himself the fastest man of those on the track. And it looks like it's going to pay off. Up to the high side, it won't pay off. Down to the wall, it's going to be 1 driver going. That's Van Pelt. Jordan Kuntz goes sliding. They save it. No caution flies, and it nearly paid off for both. They'll lose out in the end. Caution is not out. Jackson Van Pelt is going to lose it all. Jordan Kuntz gets damaged too, and Henry Kaloff gets his saving grace. Caution's out 15 laps in. Yellow flag will fall after an incident fighting for the 2nd position, and how about that one? Aggression, and there's a wreck under yellow. Joel Brooks and Jordan Kuntz come together, and how about this? Yellow flag and another wreck. Jordan Kuntz from bad to worse. And all of a sudden, the opening race of the playoffs are not going well at all for your leading driver, the top seed coming into the day, and he's just faded back even further. He's going to be way back with damage now. Jordan Kuntz wrecked twice over. Now take a look at this. Jackson Van Pelt tries to get off the wall, drops it down low, and looking at that closely, there might have not been contact initially, and we'll try to take it back with an immediate slow-mo view of it. Take a look at the rear drone camera here to get that back bumper perspective from your leader of Kaloff, and that doesn't show you all the story. If you're looking closer now, the driver of Curtis Sabarin, he's not involved, but look at Jackson Van Pelt here, and you'll see a bit more of the gap going in. There was no initial contact. That was netcode, and Van Pelt had just enough room to get down. Jordan Kuntz and the internet of that number 5 might have disagreed, and they will go into each other as a result. Jordan Kuntz fencing it up high, and he's going to be part of the first incident as well as the second. So take a look at this. It's not done yet. Caution will fly about at this point, but Jordan gets it going, and Joel Brooks is coming in hot. And riding on board with the 9th place driver of Joel Brooks, this is when the second incident occurs, and you can see Kuntz is clearly up on the track. He drops down low, and Joel Brooks hits the wall and comes back down. And Kuntz could have done nothing about that. The yellow flag comes out by this point. He gets what he needs and still gets involved in a wreck. Instant replay will show you it one more time. Brendan Carroll comes into the race 17 laps down, so another driver joins us today. But Joel Brooks goes up to the wall and just can't get out. And that's unbelievable. Yellow flag is out, 2 wrecks in 1 caution, and Joel Brooks, Jordan Kuntz, and Jackson Van Pelt all involved, as you'll see Henry Kaloff lead him off a pit road. Alec Daffin then going to be second. Jordan Kuntz is now going to be third no longer. It's Vinny Tigner now in third, with James Nelson fourth, Jackson Van Pelt fifth, Scott Erickson sixth, and Curtis Sabarin then in 7th. Yellow flag going to fall 18 laps in out of 100 with a freak incident. Netcode involved. It luckily seems to be only 2 drivers getting involved at first. End of line penalty given Joel Brooks following his involvement in that caution. And now Henry Kaloff finds himself at the front of the field once again, getting set to go back at it at lap number 20. And we are already giving out some penalties here. Number 15 of Joel Brooks, 1 lap down, end of line penalty 2, so he will not be coming out on the track within the next few laps. Damage and a penalty at the same time, and just like that, the race for the number 15 going to be in much worse hands. Brendan Carroll's on the track though, and Brendan now finds himself in that VidHub Go machine running inside the 11th position. It's going to be currently Henry Kaloff leading, then Alec Daffin second, Vinny Tigner third, and James Nelson then going to be in fourth. To round out the top 10, it is going to be no longer involving, of course, the driver of that number 9 on a track, rather 9th position, Joel Brooks. He's in 9th, does not matter. Rounding at the top 10 is still Johnny Johnson, otherwise known as Dylan Pass. Rounding at your top 5, it is Jackson Van Pelt. And now Henry Kaloff has to face off against no longer Jordan Kuntz, but instead his Shaw Racing teammate. And it's going to be Alec Daffin now fighting up at the front of the field, and we'll see whether or not Daffin's got what it takes to go for that race victory in his own right here. He's been running well so far, but he still has a ways to go to catch up to where his teammate was and where Jackson Van Pelt was up there jockeying for the win. And now the fight for the win might just be wide open here. Henry Kaloff has a much better opportunity to come through with his very first at intermediate this year. And I'm going to tell you this much, he's already got a win on the season, got it done last week, but this would be that much bigger in keeping that momentum and solidifying his cause as a title contender in this season. Coming alive when it matters the most, 20 laps in for Henry Kaloff. He's your race leader when we get set to go for our first restart of the day. 1 caution following an incident involving Jordan Kuntz, Joel Brooks, and Jackson Van Pelt. And now that the field is almost entirely put together again, we'll be going back at it, hoping to put ourselves in a great spot to go the rest of the way. 20 laps in, your first pit stops have already been completed, but a few other drivers still are going to have to make stops as the race goes on. Namely, of course, your leader, Henry Kaloff, as he hopes to push forward for a chance to go back-to-back on the campaign. The Throwback 150 is not done just yet, not in the slightest, and and in the sea of drivers coming through, only a few select drivers are still eligible for the championship. You got two of your biggest title contenders up in front. You got one of your most important contenders in the back of the field after a wreck, and there's still many others in between, not only going for a championship, but going for a shot at a race win all the same. Coming down to the start-finish line, this time by Henry Caloff and Alec Daffin get back at it once again. Pace cars in, green flag set to drop once more, and that it does. Green flags out, led by Henry Caloff, and we're back on the way here from Atlanta. All of a sudden, Alec Daffin jumping on the opportunity to race with that number 48 machine. Daffin on the high side of the circuit now has the race lead. They're going to be separated by thousandths of a second, but Daffin looking better than he ever has before in this event. Now the Advent Health 48 is coming into his own and puts himself in the back bump for your leader, Caloff, with Jackson Van Pelt also jumping up into third. Van Pelt, despite the incident, is still going to be up there fighting for a podium spot, and he sees that Alec Daffin's taking away that second place he's gotten accustomed to, and he will not stand for it. Now it's going to be the Jackson Van Pelt machine taking it down the back straightaway and looking for another position here on Alec Daffin. The Advent Health number 48, though, does want to keep with that second spot here because the question is still going to be about your race leader and his ability to manage tires. Now, Henry Caloff has proven to be a very, very commendable driver in this season, but the big what if is whether or not he can have that race leading quality of saving tires better than anyone else. It's always, or almost always in this league, not down to who has the raw pace at the end of the day, but most often to who comes down with the best strategy. Strategic racing is what the Saturday Night Truck Series is all about, and the best drivers with the best strategy are always the ones that benefit. I'll tell you this much, when it comes to strategy here in iRacing, it's all about how you drive it inside the cockpit, but what about your look outside of it? If you want the best pay schemes on the iRacing market, check out Tango Paints on Twitter for more information about iRacing's leading graphic design and crew. Tango Paints is the official graphic design supplier of the Fireball Talks NASCAR live team, and for prices you can't beat, prices starting of course at $50 per paint scheme. Check out Tango Paints on Twitter for all the information. Paint schemes, liveries, whatever you need them for. Trusted iRacing groups such as McConey Setup Shop use Tango Paints for all their sim racing needs to represent their sim racing identities. We'll bring it back after a brief promotional break from our friends at Tango Paints. 25 laps in, Henry Caloff leads the way in the Throwback 150 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And coming back to the action now with Henry Caloff still up in front. Henry's been able to break out to another huge lead, and all of a sudden this number 35 machine clicking on all fronts, and look at that gap right now, over a second on Alec Daffin, as Jackson Van Pelt is also finding himself inside the podium battle, not only going to keep himself in third, but now looking for second. 26 laps in out of 100, the Quaker State number 48 machine, well, both of them battling together. It's Quaker State's number 78 right behind the 48 of Daffin, and they'll keep each other close company as the laps continue to wind down. Main pack consists now what appears to be 5 drivers going back to James Nelson. You got a second bubble of Scott Erickson and Curtis Sabarin also coming through. Then there's Jordan Coots, who has damage now in 8th. Joel Brooks and Brendan Carroll all racing together, and even though Jordan Coots is still on the track and on the lead lap, certainly not the race he'd like to have, puttering around the circuit now at about a second off the pace compared to your leaders at the worst. However, as of recent, to be able to put it back into control, and since the tire wear is starting to equalize how these drivers are performing lap after lap, Jordan might have a chance to catch up maybe to Erickson and Sabarin and that second pack as well. Henry Caloff is going to lead now by nearly 2 seconds as Jackson Van Pelt drops down low. It's going to be Jackson down to the bottom side with now Alec Daffin on the low 2. They're going up and down the track. Van Pelt tries tries to get low again, doesn't have the room to do so, and Vinny Tigner goes low as well. Looks like the low side is where they all want to be, but Jackson Van Pelt that time by works the high side to his advantage to get that run once again. So an advantage is going to go that time around to Jackson Van Pelt to keep himself in second. Alec Daffin going to be in third, and Vinny Tigner is going to be fourth, with James Nelson fifth, and Curtis Sabarin then in sixth. Going to wiggle up on the high side. Does Sabarin save it? That he does. Keeps it nice and smooth, running without any other issue. Got iRacing getting right there behind him though, and right now this main pack beginning a bit more spread out. The closest between the drivers right now are positions 3 down to position 7. These are the closest drivers in the field, and this would now classify as your second group overall. Jordan Crooks is the final man on the lead lap, but it's going to be him driving against Joel Brooks, who's 2 laps down, and Brendan Carroll, who's 17 laps down. So it's a difference. The second group is only Lap Machines and Jordan Kuntz. This group is most of your lead lap pack. Jackson Van Pelt now going to find himself in the second position, and Alec Daffin fades back to third, with Vinny Tigner fourth, James Nelson fifth, and Curtis Sabarin then in sixth. 30 laps in, out of 100, and the quest is to chase down Kaloff, who's looking now to go for 2 consecutive victories in a row, and all of a sudden Henry Kaloff transforming from one of the drivers to keep an eye out for in the future to a juggernaut today. Huge advantage, and he did not need any preparation, the least amount of laps in practice of any driver who took a time, and now he finds himself leading the way by a huge amount. Jordan Kuntz no longer in his sight. Jackson Van Pelt still going to be a far distance away, and Alec Daffin, while he is also gaining some ground, not going to be enough, at least until the next pit cycle, to get going once again. And some trouble now for Joel Brooks. He fades further back on Jordan Kuntz. Looks like that time by he lost about 1.5 seconds on his average lap time. So Joel and the 15 team struggling just a bit to keep things going. And luckily does keep it on the track this time without any other issue. But Brooks, who now finds himself 9th, 2 laps down, is not at all with the rest of the field. Drops down to the apron here and goes back up the track. So he's wiggling all the way around the circuit here. Not quite sure what the game plan is, as Joel Brooks once again bobbles up and down the track. Might not be going for competitive laps here. Let's see if he goes down to pit road. That he does not, but some trouble in control here for the 15 team, as they're now far behind the rest of your field. Henry Kaloff leads the way. Jackson Van Pelt now going to be 1.5 seconds back, and despite the fact that Henry Kaloff is a major gap, it looks like now the rest of the field is coming through and gaining more time. Jackson Van Pelt now gaining about 1/10 of a second each and every time around. Good enough to make it back by about lap number 50 if all goes well. Alec Daffin also going to be about that same pace, and Vinny Tigner's there too. Vinny's now going to find himself in the battle for that runner-up spot, and even find himself going for the lead if these drivers can all make up that time together as one. 34 laps in, out of 100 drivers for the most part logging laps here to make sure that they get through to the later stages of this race. 1 caution on the day, and it only involves 1 leading contender in the playoffs. The rest of your big juggernauts this season, such as Tigner, Alec Daffin, Henry Kaloff, they're all still going just fine, but Jordan Kuntz loses so much time and loses much more position than he'd anticipate, now in 8th, and despite the fact he has a lot to go off of, buffering himself with a fantastic regular season, still not at all a good way to start a playoff run, no matter the circumstance. Now 0.8 of a second behind, Kaloff sees Jackson Van Pelt, and Van Pelt is almost exactly where he needs to be. Jackson going to find himself now in second, with Alec Daffin in third, within 1 second of your leading driver, and the 78 machine now going to try to take that top spot lap after lap, gaining that much more time. And last time this happened, Henry Kaloff got that caution that bailed him out. We'll see whether or not he gets it again. It'd be very unlikely, but there is still a chance. Kaloff is going to bobble up to the high side, tries to keep it going, but it's clear by now his tires are shredded, and Jackson Van Pelt's got enough in the tank to go around if he can just get that proper run. Now Henry's going to go up to the high side here, but he's losing a lot of time. Look at how quick Jackson Van Pelt gets side by side. 35 machine up top and the 78 down low at the line. Kaloff still leads, but not by all too much. And driving as hard as he can, or those tires will burn you out. Atlanta not going to be too kind to Henry Kaloff as he now finds himself continuing to lose time, and he's hardly keeping it together up on the top side as well. Alec Daffin goes by, Vinny Tigner also in the mix, and now Kaloff's going to have to work that top side alone, as a bottom side leaving is going to be Jackson Van Pelt, bringing Alec Daffin and Henry Kaloff 1, 2, 3, with Vinny Tigner trying to get by that 35 machine at the same time. Down to the apron once again, Joel Brooks goes forward. He just looks like he comes off pit road, and it looks like that he will. A pit road, he'll go to it, and just like that, Joel Brooks comes out with the leaders coming this way. 78 machine, the Quaker State, is going to be up in front, and Alec Daffin is now in second. Vinny Tigner just now able to get by for third, and Henry Kaloff fades back to outside the top three in the fourth position, 38 laps in out of 100. Fifth spot's going to be occupied by James Nelson, and Scott Erickson's going to be in seventh, now up into sixth as a result of some position shuffling as Brooks comes down to pit road yet again. Joel Brooks' night has gone from bad to worse in the same way Jordan Kuntz has, because now 3 laps down, Joel has almost no chance of getting back up with the leading drivers. Being that far down in terms of laps so early is practically a death sentence when it comes to getting a chance to race for the lead. And with how few cautions we've had all season long, 1 caution today matches the total amount of cautions we had last week at Talladega. Goes to show these drivers will keep it long and strong all throughout the night. And at the line, Jackson Van Pelt gets the lead in once again. First place held by the number 78 machine. The green machines have done oh so well today. First in Henry Kaloff, and now in Jackson Van Pelt. Jackson leading his first laps of the season, and he's clearly the commanding driver right now, with Daffin trying high, trying low, trying anything, still not having what it takes. And the first, second, and third positions separate by only a quarter of a second now. 2/10 separate Jackson Van Pelt from his contemporaries, but no longer as Alec Daffin takes the race lead. High side works out for Alec, and just like that, the 48 is back up in front. New man on top for the Advent Health team, and just like that, Alec Daffin is leading with 41 laps in the book so far. And how about this one for Alec Daffin and Shaw Racing's number 48 crew? Even though Jordan Kuntz is no longer up in the front of the field, he's proven to finding himself up in front. Alec Daffin, he's proven to be there without the help of his teammates. And we saw at Pocono those two drivers working so well together to lock down the victory for Daffin. And at Dover, they worked together to lock it down for Jordan Kuntz. But now the number 48 is on his own. Nobody else around him to assist. He's got only competitors around that will not give him any easy breaks. Now we see some drivers coming down for competitive pit stops. It looks like Curtis Sabarin is in, and he's going to slam the wall. And Curtis having some trouble making it in that time by, going to limp down to his pit stall, and slowly but surely back in correctly, losing a lot of time here on pit road. About 30 seconds worth he's already been on without taking a pit stop. So Curtis Sabarin with some trouble, and just like that, the 54 fades back into the 8th spot, leaving the lead lap, and he's going to now put Jordan Kuntz up into 7th with some shuffling and attrition, giving that number 5 machine a spot to claw back into the top 5 if he's quick enough to get to Nelson and Scott Erickson. Look at this, Henry Kaloff is falling off big time, loose as they could get, and just like that, the 35 barely able to hang on to the top. He's manhandling this machine. Take a look inside the cockpit and see how hard he's working lap after lap. And the rotation back and forth in the wheel to just keep that thing alive is incredible, but it won't work out for much longer. Kaloff goes down low, and it looks like the gamble will no longer stick. 35 machine wore those tires out and then some, and just like that, Kaloff gonna lose it as soon as we go on board. Henry Kaloff no longer up in front, and for a promising early start, it looks like Henry Kaloff now finding trouble later in the going, and before the halfway mark, accumulates some damage to put himself down a 7th and put Jordan Kuntz back up into 6th. Now it's going to be Scott Erickson chasing down James Nelson. They're only separated by 0.3 of a second, and looking up in front for second here, it's going to be Jackson Van Pelt and Vinny Tigner. Vinny goes down to the bottom side, trying to get it there on Jackson. Jackson's got himself still in that 2nd position, but it might not last any longer the way things are going, because Vinny Tigner is making time up and making time quick. And you can see now how it's going to be Vinny Tigner trying to go down to the bottom side to get things going, and he goes there a bit earlier than Jackson does time after time, corner after corner. With that in mind, Vinny Tigner trying to find that angle to get away, make the move, and trying to make it quick is the end goal for that Ford F-150, the number 12, running in third. Still looking for his first win this season. Vinny Tigner, a Final Four competitor last season, and now putting himself in the third spot so early in the playoffs is a good way to start off the title fight all over again. Taking a look at the track once again, you'll see mostly going to be smaller packs of drivers compared to a big group, but there's still quite a lot of guys going at it for their own positions, jockeying for each and every spot. And how's about we fire up our drone camera and go for an overhead track view, not only of a certain pack, the leaders, but the entirety of the track here in Atlanta. The original iRacing configuration scanned in 2008, and since then, this configuration was considered up to date until the Atlanta SuperSpeedway package was put into effect last year. Now, the new Atlanta is one of the very first tracks to be designed with sim racing in mind, developed by the iRacing team in collaboration with NASCAR, and the original Atlanta configuration on iRacing is, as a matter of fact, not the original Atlanta in itself. The configuration seen in this rendition of Atlanta has existed for just over 25 years, either physically or virtually, and was first seen circa 1997 as a repave to the iconic Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mile-and-a-half circuit, very traditional cookie-cutter style, at least in concept, but when you take a look at it off of the paper, you'll see the character on this track is as defined as it can get. Drivers are bumping and bobbling up and down the circuit, and closer to the track surface, and you'll see a bit more of what we mean here. You're up and down the track. Nothing is truly flat or truly smooth at Atlanta, and you've got to fight for each and every time you go through the track. There's a bumps, there's a bobbles up and down. The obstacles are clear, but it's a very, very fun track for that reason. A bit more challenging than most intermediate circuits. You have to try different grooves, find out what works and what doesn't. As we go through corners 1 and 2, once again, you'll see it's not as even as most other intermediates, and it provides its own unique challenge with a high degree of banking that is only rivaled by other contemporary intermediates that we see to this day. Now, while Atlanta is now a super speedway style track, many fans still call to see this style of racing, and thankfully on iRacing, the laser scan rendition provides a realistic experience for all fans of racing, be it virtual or real racing, and now they all have a chance to drive and test out the iconic Atlanta configuration seen from 1997 on until 2022. That's our track walk here from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. Drivers still flying by our cameras, and we'll bring you back to the live feed here as we now are on to our 50th lap of 100. Daphne is going to lead us down to the halfway point, halfway down, halfway to go. 50 laps remain in the battle for second. It is still fierce. Jackson Van Pelt holds himself up high, and Vinny Tigner opts to go down low. They've been fighting side by side now for over 5 laps, and it still is going to cost them more time than it would if one driver opted to take that second spot and go from there. Now 1 second behind Alec Daffin, and it might not seem like much in terms of the numbers, but look at the distance on the track. Vinny Tigner going to fade back that much more as a result of battling with Jackson Van Pelt, and now the number 78 machine drops down to the bottom to try to get a switchover move going, and Jackson has himself down low, track position and all. He takes it down to the bottom, has that advantage, and he's got the low side to try to work off of it, but the back straightaway gives Vinny Tigner some more momentum, and Vinny jumps out to second once more, going back and forth with 49 laps remaining, and Throwback 150 has been a battle between your juggernauts in the playoffs all night long, and as it stands, it's going to be Vinny Tigner in the second position, Jackson Van Pelt in third, Scott Erickson fourth. Jordan Kuntz is now the final man inside the top 5, as you see James Nelson is now on pit road for the first time today. Competitive pit stops being made, and Nelson's the first man to come down and in. Pit road getting busy here, and just like that, the number 77 comes through after his first pit stop of this event under green, which means after about a 34 lap run for him, we're expecting one more pit stop for the number 77, as we are for all other drivers. It's going to be at least 2 more pit stops for the number 77. Now the question is, what do other drivers do? Do they try to go a bit longer to hold on? But it could be risky here. Is Now going to be much harder to decide because that time by Alec Daffin ran a 34.018. And that time by, he was the fastest man on the track. That's exactly 2 seconds slower than his fastest lap of the session. So on average, he's losing about 1.5 seconds each and every lap, and that time will add up more and more. So the question becomes whether or not those new tires are already worth it, or if it's best now to wait till it's about halfway through the remainder of the race and go down with about 50 laps on the tires and go for a nice short 20-something lap run to get you all the way. 47 laps to go down to 46. Strategy now coming into play. Joel Brooks comes down to pit road once again, and Brooks comes in after a 13-lap run. So Joel's down and in. Curtis DeBaron is still down on pit road for 15 laps. He's been there. Rest of your field, the leading drivers are still debating whether or not they should go now, because with 46 laps to go, there's still quite a lot of time on the table to choose and make the best of the situation. 46 laps left. Half a second now separates Jackson Van Pelt and Vinny Tigner. No longer is this a battle on the racing circuit, and it's going to come down to being a strategy battle onto pit road. The United Rentals number 50 machine is going to be inside the 4th spot, and Vinny Tigner is now going to be 7 seconds back inside the final spot in the top 5. And Vinny Tigner is actually going to land in 2nd here. We're looking at Jordan Kuntz, and for Kuntz, this race has been an up and down night, that's for certain. Leading some laps early up in the front of the field, but as he chased down your race leader of Henry Kaloff, he was involved with a wreck with Jackson Van Pelt, and then with Joel Brooks coming through, Joel hit the wall and spun right back down to this number 5, giving him too much damage to be competitive all throughout the night. He's about a few tenths of a second a lap off each and every time, and has had some trouble continuing to go ever since that point. However, unlike a lot of other drivers, he's been able to keep it out the wall since then, and now is inside the 5th place firmly. Despite all of his earlier troubles, it's going to be Jordan Kuntz inside the top 5, hoping to finish the race off as such, as now it looks like Curtis DeBaron getting some life, and now he's going to disconnect from the session, getting off of pit road. Alec Daffin leads him down to the line once again with 43 laps remaining, and pit road is getting busier, but your leaders have still not opted to come down and in with time still to play with. Right now, you'll see Jackson Van Pelt is going to be alone in 3rd. Vinny Tigner's going to be alone in 2nd. And right now, gaps are about as large as they can come. Joel Brooks is going to get back out on the track. Number 15 machine going to be on the move. And it looks like after another pit stop within the last 25 laps, Joel Brooks and the JBL crew get back on the way. 8th place right now, 8 laps down, 7 laps down to the next driver in Henry Kaloff. It's going to be Kaloff and James Nelson, 1 lap down right now. Jordan Kuntz is the final man on the lead lap, and Alec Daffin will put Joel 1 more lap down, now 9 laps behind. Your leading driver, Alec Daffin, has him up in front with 42 laps to go. And the end goal for Alec Daffin coming back this season is, of course, to go for the championship. This number 48 machine knows what's at stake after a runner-up finish last season. Now it's go big or go home. And while Jordan Kuntz is now his teammate, of course, the defending champion, he'd love to win it for himself, knowing how much pace he has night after night. It's not over for Alec Daffin, not in the slightest, and with a very good opening night here in Atlanta, it could be the difference between fighting for the championship and fighting to stay alive round after round. Daffin has been able to break out to a fantastic opening run. Vinny Tigner going to, of course, be the driver. That number 12 machine also going alongside in 2nd, and 60 laps in for Vinny Tigner. He's also looking to break out himself. He has not yet won this season, and while he is, of course, always a competitor in this league with several podium finishes, his best of which coming last week at Talladega, 2nd place by just about 12 1,000ths of a second. Now he's looking to get it done for a 1st place finish, first time this season. Joel Brooks went down to pit road once again. Now he's 10 laps down after another pit stop, and it looks like troubles continue for that number 15 team as they hope to keep alleviating the damage that came from the incident with the number 5 of Jordan Kuntz. 40 laps to go. This time by, coming at a lap number 39 to go, and it's going to be 61 laps in, going to 62. Competitive pit stops on the way, and just like that, Vinny Tigner will split it up and go in with 43 laps on his run. 43 laps with 39 laps to go. 1 man down a pit road, going to bring another number 5 machine of Jordan Kuntz comes through with some late braking to make up some time. down to pit road, the number 5 is indeed looking to make a gamble to get into the leading battle. It's Jordan Kuntsen, and so is Vinny Tigner. Alec Daffin leads, and Jackson Van Pelt is yet to go through, but now Daffin's going to make it in. 44 laps coming to 45. Alec Daffin is in. He'll bring Jackson Van Pelt as well, and Scott Erickson comes through at the same time. Just like that, one more stop to go. This is the money stop on the day. Joel Brooks will disconnect from the session after another pit stop, and now we've got ourselves a pit road busy again. Jordan Kuntz gets on the way. Vinny Tigner is already out on the track, and just like that, Henry Kaloff is now going to be in the 6th position, gaining a lot of time on a gamble here, running a longer run, 17 laps into his pit run to this point, and now only 2 seconds behind Vinny Tigner as they're going to jockey for the race lead, at least for now. James Nelson's now the leading driver overall. Alec Daffin gets on the way. Jackson Van Pelt's going to now be in 3rd, and Scott Erickson's going to be 4th, and just like that, the cycle is through. James Nelson is now your race leader, 38 laps to go. And while James Nelson going to put a very risky strategy into play, we're not quite sure whether or not this is going to pay off here. Only a 9-second advantage with 38 laps to run, and he's on a 12-lap older stint. That is a major difference between Alec Daffin. Daffin, brand new tires. James Nelson has run for over a dozen laps now, and that difference is substantial compared to anyone else in the field. If it was a difference of 2 or 3 laps, it might not be all too much with 9 seconds to play with, but Daffin is taking 10th after 10th, and it doesn't mean he's taking it lap after lap. He's taking it each and every turn. He's that much faster through the turns that he made about a half a second through 1 and 2, and is looking to do so once again through turns 3 and 4. So Alec Daffin is coming through like a rocket ship right now with James Nelson ahead, and with 37 laps to go, Alec Daffin is chasing down your current race leader with Vinny Tigner in 3rd and Jackson Van Pelt then in 4th. Henry Kaloff going to round out the top 5 and come down to pit road again, sliding, and it looks like he saves it. Jackson Van Pelt's going to get by, but Henry Kaloff does not, and Kaloff comes into pit road again. The gamble does not pay off. He'll fade back into 7th and look to be in 7th place no matter what. Bar a caution, Kaloff's night looked to be oh so promising after a victory in Talladega, but that is no longer the case as troubles have brought him down a pit road yet again. An alternate strategy will not play out to his liking, and he has to come in now 7th place and in jeopardy of going 1 lap down when Alec Daffin comes by. Daffin, your man in 2nd, 6 seconds behind James Nelson, has made up a total of 2.5 ever since he got back on the racing circuit, and Vinny Tigner is coming through as quick right behind. Jackson Van Pelt is going to be also at the same pace right now. Van Pelt that time by is 0.2 of a second quicker than both Vinny Tigner and Alec Daffin, so keep an eye out for the 78 machine as Jackson Van Pelt might too be part of this race-winning battle when push comes to shove in the final 20 laps, and we're moments away from hitting that final 20.67 laps in out of 100. Only 1 caution on the day caused by Joel Brooks, Jackson Van Pelt, and Jordan Kuntz, all 3 of which involved in the wrecking one way or another. And now coming down to the final stretch in this event, James Nelson has a lead of 5 seconds, but the way things are going, that is not bound to last. Alec Daffin is coming through quickly, lap after lap. That time by 32.377 for Alec Daffin and 33.567 for James Nelson. So over 1 second a lap faster that time around. He's gaining that much time each and every circuit, and it continues to be a much better night for Alec Daffin than it is for his teammate in Jordan Kuntz. If that number 5 machine can't get it done for Shaw Racing, the game plan is of course always for the 48 to do so. After Jordan Kuntz seeing his teammate run for his 2nd win of the season, it is Alec Daffin. 1 win last season, 1 win so far this season, looking to go for his 2nd win in 3 races. This will be a fantastic year to look back on for Daffin if this is the run that starts off his chances for a championship. 69 laps in out of 100, a very nice cruise for the 48 machine as he claws back to your leader in James Nelson. Still not there just yet, but gaining more time as we speak, and Alec Daffin will have to think about what's next when he gets there, because Nelson is going to be a blockade, but only for so long, because James Nelson's that much slower time after time. 33.716 for James Nelson that time by. Alec Daffin ran a 32.554. Now the gap is only 2.2 seconds, and it is as short as it can get. Looking further back right now, Vinny Tigner remains about 1.1 seconds away from your man in second, Alec Daffin. And even though Vinny's not been able to gain any time so far, if there's any trouble with James Nelson, he knows he's in the catbird seat to make up some time and perhaps put himself in race-winning contention if all comes into play. Now, that would require, of course, Nelson holding up the rest of the field, including Alec Daffin, which is unlikely given Nelson's status right now, much slower, but he's still fighting for the lead, all things considered. And he has a huge buffer back to drivers like Scott Erickson, Jordan Kuntz as well, so if he really wants to, he could go fighting for that race victory, as aggressive as it gets. Now, it would be unlikely given how slow he is compared to Daffin, and the gap is now 0.6 of a second, but we'll see as they come across the stripe yet again. Nelson leads him now with only a total of 29 laps to go, but Alec Daffin's right there, looking to take a spot away through turns 1 and 2, dropping down to the bottom side, no trouble this time around. Alec Daffin's got himself the race lead, and James Nelson gives way to the 48, who's out in front, now back in control with 29 laps remaining. And for Shaw Racing, all of a sudden, Alec Daffin's got that top spot once again. Nelson now going to see Vinny Tigner coming in hot. And if Vinny Tigner can make it by here in the second position, he can gain that much more time. If it's easier as well, because James Nelson was pretty easy in giving that spot away to Alec Daffin. Now it looks like it won't be as easy for Vinny as he both goes down to the bottom side. Vinny tries to get down low through the back straightaway, gets it there, but it's going to be James Nelson putting up a bit more of a fight for your second place driver. Doesn't do much of it though, and now as they go through turns 3 and 4, Vinny Tigner makes it by, losing about 0.2 of a second relative to Daffin. 1.3 separating your top two guys now, as James Nelson is going to see Jackson Van Pelt on his way. Jackson looking to establish himself as a podium-winning driver. Getting on that podium will be a victory for this team, of course, coming through for their very first time. 78 machine of Jackson Van Pelt, finding himself now only about a second and a half away from James Nelson. 27 laps to go. Scott Erickson then going to be now in the 5th spot, and it's going to be Jordan Kuntz, the final man on the lead lap, 13 seconds behind the leader, and the number 5 is there in the 6th place. And even though he's had so many troubles today, he's still just outside the top 5 and bound to go in the top 5. Nelson down and in this time through, and just like that, cycling down to pit road, James Nelson comes in for his final pit stop of the day, and Jordan Kuntz will fly by to get inside the top 5. Despite all the troubles for Jordan Kuntz, a top 5 finish will still be in the cards for the number 5 team, as now he finds himself in the 5th position. After all the trouble and after all the frustration of the incidents and whatnot, he will still come home top 5 finish to kick off the playoffs. You'll see Alec Daffin's going to be there, Vinny Tigner in second. Denny Hamlin fans 23 in chat, thank you for stopping by. Great to have you watching the Throwback 150, and tonight coming down to the home stretch here with 25 laps to go. Of course, Alec Daffin, he knows one thing for certain: this team has no quit. And despite all the adversity he's faced, all the trouble he's had throughout the season, this Chevy Silverado number 48 has been able to hold on and make it happen till the very end. Every race he's in, he's looking to be a competitor when the white flag falls, and tonight, that's no worry. He's been great all throughout the day, and this will be his second win of the campaign if he can pull it through at the checkered flag. And he's had chances for 3 or 4 victories throughout the season. Of course, you saw him very well running at Dover. Not, of course, a great finish at Charlotte, but he was also fantastic at the America's Home for Racing. And now, he's able to show it a bit more without anyone to compare him to. Jordan Kuntz not having a great night today, and it looks like it is not going to work out for him to get a win. So the 48 gets to be the lone driver up in front for Shaw Racing. Alec Daffin up in front as they come across the stripe yet again with 23 laps to go. And Daffin's got it up in front in the Throwback 150. Vinny Tigner not too far behind. Jackson Van Pelt also there in 3rd. And Scott Erickson going to be in 4th with Jordan Kuntz rounding at that top 5. Now chasing down Henry Caloff in his number 35 machine as they come across the stripe. And of course, with 23 laps to go, next lap on the agenda is going to be with 22 laps to go. And with TrackCams22.com, we provide the highest quality iRacing cameras for over 100 car and track combinations on the iRacing platform. Check out TrackCams22.com today after tonight's broadcast, as we will crank it up with 22 laps to go, courtesy of our friends at TrackCams22.com. And coming around now with only 16 laps to go on the night, Alec Daffin maintains his race lead and hopes to hold on for the rest of the day here with only 16 laps left. He's got a gap of 2 seconds over Vinnie Tigner. Jackson Van Pelt finds himself still in third, 5 seconds back, and Jordan Coots is now going to be position number 4. And James Nelson finds himself now the final driver on the lead lap. No longer. Nelson's going to be 1 lap down. Just like that, the driver, the number 77, fades out of lead lap contention. Jordan Coots going to be 4th. Jackson Van Pelt 3rd. Vinnie Tigner 2nd, and Alec Daffin leads the way. At 15 laps to go, only Joel Brooks and Dylan Posse, your retirees on the night. The rest of your field keeps on going without any other troubles. And it's been a very long, clean race. 1 caution earlier in the going. Ever since then, we've kept it without any other yellow flags or interruptions, and it's been great to see drivers such as Daffin, Tigner, and Jackson Van Pelt keep things going up in front. They've been the class of the field all night long. It's a shame for guys like Henry Kaloff, for Jordan Coots, who had such great potential of keeping things going for another great run after Talladega, but it looks like tonight that will no longer be the case. And while Jordan Coots will definitely get a solid finish in 4th, and Henry Kaloff likewise gets 6th, being behind championship competitors like Daffin and Vinnie Tigner is still not good news in the slightest. Alec Daffin, no matter what, will be the man who benefits the most from tonight, winning the race, leading most of the laps. That is a huge deal to open up the playoffs, and no playoff spoiler will take that away from him. And he knows that if he can just seal the deal with 13 laps to go, his chances at a championship will drastically increase, no matter how the season's gone to this point. And it's gone well, better than it did last season coming into our playoffs. He knows there's still a lot more work to be done. A 2nd win, putting it in the crooked number category, is a mandatory requirement, because last season, of course, we saw multi-time winner Jordan Coots come home with the title, and the season prior, multi-time winner Lane Graves came home with a championship. You cannot expect in this league to win the championship with just 1 race win. It is not possible. Alec Daffin nearly pulled it off last season with 1 win at the emergency reschedule of Kentucky, but otherwise not the most impressive season, despite evident race pace that Daffin has continued to show, and now showing it that much more in the dying laps of this race. Henry Kaloff is gaining time now on Scott Erickson. The separation between them is about 2 seconds, so even though they're both 1 lap down, a battle is brewing in the back of the pack and might continue to do so until the final lap comes and goes. So 12 laps to go. Erickson and Henry Kaloff are battling. 11 laps to go now for Alec Daffin as he leads them now to lap number 90. You'll see it's going to be Vinnie Tigner, Jackson Van Pelt, still separate by about 5 seconds. That is your podium 3, and the top 3 have been up and fighting nearly all of the night without any trouble in doing so. Just like that, down to the final few laps, and the strategy has been very simple tonight. Only 1 green flag pit stop for most of these drivers. The rest of the field having to deal with 2 overall. Of course, 1 under yellow. Then from there, we had ourselves a pit stop under green. So 10 laps to go. Not much else to say about tonight's racing. Alec Daffin has been able to run a very smooth, calm, collective race. And being so collected in a situation like this, where the pressure is almost higher than any other race on the season, and we'll continue to find out whether or not Daffin can keep this momentum up. I don't think it's a fluke, that's for certain, but next week it's going to be different. Jordan Coots gets another chance to come alive. Vinnie Tigner, who even though he's been up front all night long, we get another chance to regroup and go right back at it. These drivers are only going to become hungrier after a night like this, where they come so close to a great finish and a chance at the win. Now, playoff implications, the championship setting, it's coming into play here and now. You cannot afford to lose what you've had all season long, lose that pace, lose that capability of putting a good one together. These races are the most important of the schedule. You made it through the regular season. You're one of the few drivers still eligible for the championship. Now, time to find out who's really going to step up and become the best man of all the great competitors we've seen all season long. 8 laps to go. This time by for Alec Daffin, the Advent Health Machine. It's the final set of laps to finish off the night, and 93 in, Alec Daffin is cruising to victory with Vinnie Tigner not too far behind, 2.5 seconds back. Henry Kaloff fades back on Scott Scott Erickson. Now Scott's going to find himself a 9-second advantage over Henry Kaloff as Henry fades back into some bobbles lap after lap. No longer able to compete up in front there, so he's 1 lap down further beyond the leading competition. And now Brendan Carroll is in 8th, 18 laps down, and Curtis Sabarin is in 9th, 20 laps behind. Alec Daffin's got him up in front, those 7 laps remaining, and he's looking to lock it down with another race victory on the tour. How's about we go for a lap on board with Alec Daffin and find out what's going on in the final laps of the event here in Atlanta. As we take a look on board for 1 lap here with Alec Daffin, you'll see how he's been able to hold on, wrestling the car, but still keeping it all the same, very stable. That time by ran a 33.927, which is over a second off of his slowest lap today, but still, of all the drivers left on the field, he is the quickest driver. The only other driver even close in terms of pace is James Nelson, and Nelson's in jeopardy of going 1 lap down as he finds himself now in the 5th position, still fighting to get back to guys like Jordan Kuntz and Jackson Van Pelt. So it is only 2 drivers even within the 33-second bracket that time around. Vinny Tigner barely cracks it this time by with a 33.965, but Daffin is still the fastest driver lap in, lap out. All of a sudden, this 48 machine seems to be the class of the field on his own and breaking away from all of the drivers, his teammates, his competitors alike. This is the real breakout night for Alec Daffin, and with the strong competitive drivers we have here today, and the long green flag run as well, this is no fluke. Alec Daffin is back in action, looking for a multi-win season here in Season 5, something we did not see out of him in Season 4. It's coming to fruition in just a few minutes' time. Daffin knows that it's been a season of trials and tribulations up and down throughout the order of the field. You've seen him up in front fighting for wins. We've seen him fade back when it matters the most, and now, with the playoffs in play, he's got himself in another chance to fight for a title and maybe go for the Season 5 championship. 3 laps to go here in the Throwback 150, and Daffin leads from Vinny Tigner, Jackson Van Pelt, Jordan Kuntz, and James Nelson, then in 5th. Scott Erickson's now going to be 6th by 14 seconds over Henry Kaloff. Kaloff is now going to be in jeopardy of going another lap down if Daffin can get even closer. You'll see Curtis Sabarin also going to be on the track right now with Jackson Van Pelt right there with him. Brendan Carroll in the number 31 machine in timing and scoring is your number 10 tonight. He finds himself now in 8th, still trying to get some time back on the rest of the field, but he's 18 laps down, so no matter what, he'll be finishing in 8th at the end of this show. Daffin is now coming through turns 1 and 2 as well, and he's looking to seal the deal, getting through 1 more lap, and he'll have himself another victory. When the white flag flies, this race will be official no matter what, and it looks like it'll go into the books once again as a 1 caution race. Coming across 3 and 4 this time by with nobody else around him in his own zip code tonight. Now in front of a packed crowd in Hampton, Georgia, Alec Daffin takes it down to the white flag to lead the final lap of this race. He's got all the track position he needs. He just needs to execute to finish off the final of 100 laps. Alec Daffin going to lead that way right now in the number 48 machine. Vinny Tigner 3 seconds behind, and it would take a miracle for that number 12 to have any chance to go for the race victory. Alec Daffin bringing a throwback scheme to Shaw Racing's former glory days in a brand new season for Shaw Racing in the Saturday Night Truck Series. They've been dominant, and the number 48 gets a chance to put a crooked number in. Win number 2 for Alec Daffin as he gets it done in the Throwback 150. Welcome to Victory Lane. Alec Daffin goes for a 2nd in 3 weeks, and all of a sudden, this number 48 machine's the leading man in the playoffs. Alec Daffin does all he needs to and then some tonight to win here in Atlanta. Daffin pulls through, gets it to Victory Lane, and is now set to burn down the house. 2 wins in a season. We haven't seen that from Alec Daffin in quite some time, and he pulls it together in the playoffs here in Season 5, knowing all that it means to win after the regular season. His championship hopes will stay alive that much more, and now time for the number 48 to get to the celebration. Bringing our drone camera down to the start-finish line, Alec Daffin will begin to burn down the house and get the party started from Atlanta. As Alec Daffin gets it rolling once again, number 48 machine going to take it in reverse, going for what appears to be another Polish victory lap, his own celebration, taking it up to the top side of the circuit. Alec Daffin going to wait to burn down the house, keeps it up top there, and keeps the celebration rolling all the way on the high side. Alec Daffin will win once again, getting it done for his second win of the tour as he begins this Polish victory lap around Atlanta. How's about we bring to you your official race results on the day. It was a total of 11 drivers taking it down to the start-finish line when we got this thing going for the green flag, and overall, the number 48 machine from the very beginning was one of the best in this race, but came through in the clutch when it mattered the most. Alec Daffin will come home winning from Vinny Tigner in second, and Jackson Van Pelt to round out the top three as Jordan Kuntz finishes fourth. It's James Nelson then in fifth, and Scott Erickson in sixth, with Henry Kaloff then in seventh. It's going to be Brendan Carroll, who missed the start of this race, finishing in 8th, Curtis LeBaron then in 9th, and Joel Brooks then in 10th, with 11th being held by Dylan Poss and Carter Casey. Race control rounding out the dozen drivers who registered for this event. Alec Daffin will pull through for a race victory in Atlanta and continues his Polish victory lap around the circuit, a tribute to Al, of course, the iconic driver, the number 7 in the NASCAR Cup Series, Alan, and of course Alan Kulwicki getting it done in the 1992 championship. 5 victories in his career, and his Polish victory lap cemented after his first victory at the Phoenix Raceway, and since then, many drivers have replicated that same style of celebration. Alec Daffin, one of the many doing so today. As Daffin continues a slow ride around the circuit, we'll get an interview with their race winner in here and now. Alec Daffin gets it done once more. So far, not in any broadcast booth or victory lane waiting room, so we can't get him in just yet. Waiting to get Daffin in for some thoughts after another fantastic drive. Second win of the season, so stick around as we'll get your top 3 in just a moment. Alec Daffin, Vinny Tigner, and finally Jackson Van Pelt. We're going to have him in the waiting room momentarily, and as it looks like Alec Daffin concludes his celebration, now time to get your thoughts from the drivers who come through first, second, and third on the day. I'm now waiting for commentary from your top 3 drivers. Alec Daffin once again gets it done here from Atlanta, winning in the Throwback 150, the opener of our playoffs. And just like that, the 48 is on top once again. Alec Daffin pulls it through for a second win on the season, and the checkered flag is yours to kick off Season 5 playoffs. How do you feel after a fantastic race win tonight in Atlanta?
Yeah, definitely expected. I mean, we've been faster the last 3 seasons. Had a shot to win, just had things go wrong every time. Twice I got wrecked, once I spell in pit road. But I guess not 3 times the charm, but 4 times the charm. You know, they would. And also, I do want to say, like, I do feel bad for Jordan Kuntz, my teammate, because I know if that incident didn't happen early on, he definitely would have had a shot to win. Or I think he'd probably been faster than me, but he'll definitely be a contender at the very least. But after that happened, I mean, my main competition was Vinny, and then I was able to haul him off and pull him there at the end. And one thing I will say, I forgot to uncheck the autofield feature, so that probably gave me a little bit of an advantage. But I mean, I think I probably won regardless. Of course, then I ran out fuel in the cooldown lap there and was able to finish the Polish victory lap, spinning out, coming to the line there at the end. Probably didn't help, but you know, all in all, I mean, it was a good race. You know, we ran a clean race, had good fuel strategy, pit strategy, tires, all that, and we brought it home. So we'll take it.
And able to bring it home on top when it matters the most. And as you mentioned, Jordan Kuntz not able to compete up in front tonight, but Shaw Racing continues a fantastic season so far. And the 48 going for a second win this season, more than last season already. And we've still got several races to play with. So how do you feel about the championship chances now with such big momentum behind this team?
Good. I mean, I think it's definitely going to come down to the last race. And I mean, with the car counts we're getting and 8 drivers make it to the championship, I think realistically, if you just show up to every race, I mean, I think we'll probably make it. But obviously, still want to be fast, still competing for wins, And then we want to have momentum getting to that last race. I think it's Fontana. So, I mean, this will definitely help with that. And now we just got to continue for the next 4 weeks. Because for me, this is back-to-back wins since I did race at Talladega last week. And I guess overall, league as a whole is 2 out of 3. So if we can just keep having, I mean, even if we're not winning, just keep getting podiums and stuff and going into the last race, just have the momentum and have a clean race, I think we'll definitely have a shot at. So just got to keep doing what we're doing at this point.
I hope to keep doing what you've been doing. Richmond up next on the schedule here, 9th round of the season. So how do you feel heading back to a short track after 2 different types of tracks that you've raced in? You won them both, going maybe for a three-peat in your last 3 attempts.
Yeah, short tracks are usually my thing. I mean, in the trucks, I haven't really had a lot of luck at Richmond as of late, in the last year or so. So we'll see. I mean, oftentimes I run better in this league than I do in like official races. Certain tracks, like Homestead, for example, are able to run second this season, has a shot to win, and so we'll see. I mean, I think he'll definitely be a contender, but we're definitely going to have a good race and put in some practice. But I think he'll definitely be a contender for sure.
And hoping to continue contending all throughout the playoffs, winning the opener in this season. Season 5's gone Alec Daffin's way, 2 wins so far, and his second comes here in Atlanta. Anything else you'd like to add after this race?
Of course. Thank you for the broadcast, David. Thanks to Carter and Vinny for putting on the league. Everyone that came out tonight. No, it definitely wasn't car count we're hoping for, but still had a good group out there. Also, I think Advent Health, my official sponsor, but still in the truck. And then I want to thank Joe Signs and Miller's Ale House. Never thanked them in my previous interviews when they're on the truck. So not on the truck tonight, but still thank them. Obviously, thanks Shiverson Products. Thanks Cameron for putting on the team. Twitch viewers at Alec Daffin48. And yeah.
And there we have it. Alec Daffin gets it done for his second race victory in the last 3 league races here in the Saturday Night Truck Series, winning the Throwback 150 by a dominating margin. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Have a good one.
Now with Alec Daffin on the move, 3 seconds separate he and Vinny Tigner at the end of day, and for the second week in a row, Vinny Tigner, second place at the end of the action. So this number 12 team consistent once again, second place after a hard-fought night here in Hampton. How do you feel?
I feel good. I mean, I wish I was just one position better, but Alec had good speed there, and I think I lost a little bit on that strategy on when I came down pit road. Typically, that's where I lose it, anyways. But so I'm not totally surprised. But I think I lost it on the exit of pit road. I don't know if I was just a little too slow coming down or coming out, just to make sure I didn't spin it, below the apron, but. Try to close the gap a little bit, and then kind of stuck between trying to push it, real hard to get closer to him and be in striking distance, but kind of decided to save a little bit, and that was it. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get it back.
And despite not being able to fight there at the end for the race lead, it was still a great run with some consistency in mind to open up our playoffs here, and it's still a long ways to go for the championship hunt. So how do you feel with some momentum behind this team, 2 consecutive podium finishes?
Oh, well, yeah, that's what you want, right? Just be consistent in that, and I mean, I'm right there. I just need one position better, so that's all I can ask. I mean, just be in contention of it, and got some really good tracks coming up. I mean, I think Richmond's probably my only questionable one, just because I don't have much experience there. But I think after that, I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, this definitely helps for momentum too.
And keeping it going for the rest of the tour here, momentum on the side of Vinny Tigner's team. And I'll tell you this much, we've seen a lot of strategy races as of recent. Another one here, only 1 caution on the day. You expect more of this to come as the weeks go by?
I mean, hopefully, if I can't complain with 1 caution. I mean, thinking seasons past, we've had a lot more than that. So, hopefully, we'll keep it to that limit. We don't want any more than that. We don't want to crash fast or anything. But I mean, Richmond is coming up, and who knows what's going to happen there. But I think there's a good group of guys in here that for the most part, that can keep it clean, and so I think we should be all right.
Looking to keep it clean for the rest of the playoff tour, Vinny Tigner kicks off his championship fight with a second consecutive second-place finish. Anything else you'd like to add after this event?
Yeah, of course. Thank you to you for broadcasting, and thanks to those who showed up tonight. Wish we had a better car count, but that's all right. And there were some good schemes out there, so that was awesome for the throwback. And but yeah, looking forward to next week.
And there we have it. Vinny Tigner keeps the hot streak of podiums going. Second place in the day here from Atlanta. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Vinny Tigner on the way. One more driver making his very first top 3 of the season. Jackson Van Pelt pulls it through in the Jack Sprague throwback. Number 78 comes home third place here after 100 laps of action. How do you feel tonight?
Fun race, a lot of tire saving, a lot of long run because of only one caution towards the start of the race. I really enjoyed all that.
As you mentioned, long green flag racing. We love to see a lot of that here when it comes to Atlanta and this league as a whole. We see great racing. We've gone here before, and we see it once again. Tire strategy came into play. A lot of laps up in front for this team. How was it getting that experience? The best run of the season so far.
Really good experience going into future races. A lot of things to improve, a lot of things to look out for.
And looking to keep on improving, of course, still a third place finish to kick this playoff off. Well, for you, not eligible for the championship, however, still a lot of races to run left in the schedule. Richmond up next for the 9th race of the season. So how do you feel with that in mind, going back to some short track racing to keep us going?
Feeling confident. I like short tracks a lot. I race a lot of short tracks. I'm feeling really good about that. I'm just worried about passing opportunities because Richmond's not very well known for passing.
It might be a hard time to get some passes done, but overall tonight did not struggle. This 78 team coming through with a podium finish in the Throwback 150. Jackson Van Pelt, third on the day. Anything more you'd like to add after this event?
I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming out. Thank you for doing the broadcast, and overall fun night.
And there we have it. Jackson Van Pelt pulls through for a first career podium in the Saturday Night Truck Series. Third place here in the Throwback 150. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I'm Jackson Van Pelt on the move. The number 78 machine rounds out your podium today in Atlanta with Vinny Tigner second and Alec Daffin winning his second race of the tour in Atlanta. Now, just like that, Alec Daffin is the premier man to keep on fighting for the championship as we head next to the Richmond Raceway for the 9th round of the season. Great to have y'all once again tonight on FTN. We'll be next live on Monday night with the Schumacher Racing League and the Integrity Ignite Series going back at it for another thrilling day, a doubleheader on FTN. Gotta thank y'all for your support once again here on this Saturday doubleheader, though, with a full set SuperSpeedway Series returning to action, and of course, the Saturday Night Truck Series always bringing us great shows no matter where we race. I've been David Kreutz, producing and commentating this event. Hope you enjoyed our presentation. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Your support is always greatly appreciated. From our homes, of course, here the FTN team, it's our studios, but down to your homes. We hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation of the Saturday Night Truck Series, and if you did, be sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching once again, and we hope to see you whenever we're live again on FTN. Thank you all for your immense support, and we hope to have you all once again after y'all have a great night.